we actually have, I believe, the first OCG metagame breakdown with the Phantom Nightmare, because it says new product release Phantom Nightmare. I believe we've had like tournament breakdowns. We've had tournament breakdowns, but we haven't had metagame breakdowns, I don't think, for the OCG meta after Phantom Nightmare. And we see something in here that really makes me want to look at this a little bit, because it is something that I was planning to do anyways in the next couple days or weeks, which is Fire Kings. Fire King is very popular in the OCG right now, and it's the second most popular deck, even only very slightly behind Rescue Ace, right? Like, I mean, Rescue Ace being the most popular deck is something that should surprise no one, like absolutely no one. Rescue Ace, for some reason, was pretty much not hit at all on their ban list. The only thing they did was put freaking Airlifter to 2. They put Airlifter to 2, and that is all that they did to Rescue Ace, pretty much. So there is no wonder that Rescue Ace is still performing really, really well, right? Like, there's nothing that really changed for the deck. Because with the Dia Bellstar package, you can just make it as consistent as you want. Like we see here, they took out one Airlifter, they just put in an extra Dia Bellstar, and now you have like the same number of starters, right? It's like such a nothing burger of a hit to the deck that they did. So I'm not surprised at all that Rescue Ace is still the top performer in the OCG. No Unchained. I mean, Unchained is probably somewhere, yeah, it's like 5 Unchained included in this breakdown, so it's somewhere in the other category. They do play Unchained, but you also have to realize that Unchained is not nearly as strong in the OCG because it's one of those mid-range decks that just completely crumbles if you get Maxied on one of your like combo starters, right? So it's like much worse in the OCG, I think. But it is playable, right? Then we got, we're going to take a look at Fire King in a second, but we have Labyrinth, which is first of all just a deck that they really like in the OCG, but also another deck that has barely been hit on the ban list at all. It's gotten more and more support. They already have Transaction Rollback. Labyrinth is a really, really good deck. Another deck that has fallen off a little bit that I want to put some attention to is Pearly. Pearly used to be a very, very well-performing deck in the OCG, and it's still there. But I believe currently the deck is struggling a little bit because of I think the current limitation is 1 Sleepy, 2 Delicious, which is you know, it kind of hurts. But it is still playable in some capacity. And then we have like the, you know, Magician is something that I'm actually not surprised by, because this has been like consistently hovering about the 4, 5, 6% throughout the last couple metagame reports. This is basically just Pendulum with Electromite. Like, it's just Pendulum Magician, basically. Which, I don't know why they even like this deck that much. It doesn't seem particularly strong to me, but it's basically always been around this 5% in the OCG for the last couple weeks or months even. I don't remember exactly. And then we have Centurion at 3.6. Silent Force at 3.6. And another interesting thing to note, Snake Eye, which is like, I guess, pure Snake Eye, which I always wondered whether it would be a viable deck at some point, because the Snake Eye cards are being splashed into so many different decks, and people kind of, I feel like, forget that some of the Snake Eye cards are also really powerful, like the freaking Flamberge Dragon, the secret rare from the last set, is like not a bad card either, because it just revives 2 things when you send it to the graveyard, I think from hand or field. So, like, if you discard it for something, you can just revive two Snake Eyes from the grave. There's, like, powerful effects in Snake Eyes, even in themselves. So, you know. Let's look at Fire King real quick, because I do want to take a look at this deck for the TCG as well. But the key thing we have to find out is whether it's good without the Phantom Nightmare, because here, Fire King is also able to utilize Snake Eyes Populace and Promethean Princess Bestower of Flames in their build, which are both cards from Phantom Nightmare, right? So the combo goes as follows. Normal summon Snake Eye Ash, activate its effect to add Snake Eye Populace from deck to hand. Special summon Populace from hand, activate its effect to add Sinful Spoils Snake Eye from deck to hand. Link summon Linkuriboh using Snake Eye Populace, then Snake Eye Populace effect would place itself in the spell and trap zone as a continuous spell. Snake Eye Ash would send itself and Populous to the grave as cost. Special summon Flamberge Dragon from deck. Activate Sinful Spoils by sending Linkuriboh to the grave. Special summon Legendary Fire King Ponix from deck. After performing the standard Fire King combo, Sacred Fire King Garunix and Legendary Fire King Ponix are used to link summon IP Masquerena. Then IP Masquerena and Snake Eyes Flamberge are used to link summon Promethean Princess Bestara Flames. Flamberge Dragon would special summon Ash and Populous from the grave. The Star of Flames effect is activated to special summon Flamberge. So they play Flamberge even in this deck. I see. Okay. Snake Eyes Flamberge Dragon effect is activated to place IP Masquerena from the graveyard in the spell and trap zone as a continuous spell. Then you make Sunlight, Wolf, and Deco Talker Heat Soul to generate card advantage. During the opposing turn, Snake Eyes Flamberge Dragon effect would special summon IP from the spell and trap zone, and IP can summon Appaloosa or Zeroboros, or I guess Little Knight as well. Okay. I mean, that is a lot of things. That is a lot of things that we cannot do before we get Populous. Populous is literally insane. Populous is an insane card for all types of Diabellstar decks, I think. So, and the Link 3 is also really good, right? The Link 3 is also really good. So, we are going to take a look at Fire King combos for the TCG at some point, probably next week. And try and find out whether it's already viable. But I have the feeling that it gets a lot stronger after Phantom Nightmare. And also in January, we also get Bonfire, which is this card down here, which is just a Rhoda for Pyro, which is also important for decks like this one, because it's just more consistency, right? So, still, I think the Fire King cards are already good. Like Snake Eye Fire King, or like Sinful Spoil Fire King might be a deck for YCS Bologna. We're going to try and find out. We're going to try and test these cards at some point next week. But it is very interesting for me to see that they are already making huge waves in the OCG with the Phantom Nightmare support. Because that tells you, you know, that at least tells you that the cards, the deck has to have something going for it, right? That there has to be something here that is good. Whether it's already able to perform before Phantom Nightmare is something that remains to be seen, but the cards have potential, right? The cards have potential. And then I think, okay, the only other deck that they provide is the Labyrinth deck, right? Which is also, which I think it's actually crazy. The only thing to see, the only thing interesting about Labyrinth is that when you look at this deck and you think about for how long this deck has been viable for, and good for, especially in the OCG, this deck has not only been viable, it's been meta for multiple formats, right? For like actual multiple formats. And none of the cards have any sort of limitation to it. Nothing. Literally nothing. And not just like an irrelevant hit like the Rescue Ace hit. There's literally nothing here, right? You notice that all of the cards that are hit on the list have like these little symbols here on this page. For Labyrinth, literally the entire main deck is unlimited. Nothing. They have not felt the need to like limit Big Welcome. Welcome has no hit. Ariana has no hit. Like nothing has been hit. Literally the only card on the ban list in this entire deck are Zeus, Tankertops, and Feather Duster. 3 cards are on the ban list. Everything else is unbanned. This is like unprecedented. It is actually, I feel this is like so few cards that are on the ban list. It's like actually crazy to me. By which I'm not saying that Labyrinth is so busted that it needs to be on the ban list. I just think it's weird that the deck has been meta in the OCG for so long and they just choose not to do anything about it. Like they're just fine with it. Which is more of an observation than a complaint that I'm making right now. Like I'm not saying it should be different. I'm just saying it's a very interesting behavior because normally you don't see this. Like even if a deck is relatively fair, quote unquote, but it just keeps being like the second most represented or third most represented deck for like super long, eventually it'll get hit, right? But Labyrinth is just the exception there. But okay.